We are back. It's your three favorite fin twatters, GP, Nick, Jeff, DI, and Bags here again with another little TA rapport. Guys, before we go much further, I just gotta say, Friday has convinced me more than ever that the world is coming to an end, that the markets are going to zero, and we just have to sell every fucking thing and bury it in the backyard. I mean, that's the reality of what happened yesterday, right? And we're recording this on a Saturday instead of Sunday as per usual, but yesterday was just a complete shit show, and there's no way I want to trust my money in the market.
Yeah, there's so many bear flags. It's just insane.
Okay, all right. So you wanted me to scream, you wanted me to get pissed, and you poked me, you poked the bear, so to speak. I'm over all the bear flag shit. All right. And I'm cursing more in this episode than we ever have before, because damn it, not everything's a bear flag. I mean, I think, GP, we were talking about this briefly. I think sometimes we see chart patterns just because we want to see chart patterns. And to me, what's happening, or what happened in the market on Friday, was basically we just made a higher low. We haven't broken anything. We ran really hard for 5-6 sessions, and a comeback down period was a logical next step. So is my thesis broken? No, I would have liked to seen the Qs and the SPY and everything closed just a little bit higher than what it did. But we got the market we got, and that's what we got to trade. And I just don't see, there's a million reasons to be negative and doom and gloom. I just don't, I'm not clutching my pearls yet.
Yeah. Bear flags are not bear flags until they break. Until then, it's just price discovery, right? So I think that's probably go ahead, Nick.
My argument would be that, okay, like let's pull up a chart of the Qs, on whatever computer you got, and you look at the monthly, we're still in a long-term uptrend. You look at the weekly, the trend is bending. You wouldn't say broken until the 2 weeks.
I happen to have a chart right here.
Sure. On the daily, you do have we're on a daily, we are trending down. So in terms of looking at bear flags as a bear flag or not, if all three time frames are green light, let's fucking go, then I'm likely looking at bear flags kind of like I'm looking at a 3-week tight pattern. I'd be looking at a bear flag. Hopefully it's sitting on some support. It's sitting on a major moving average or something like that. And I'm hoping that people are looking at it like a bear flag, and that pattern is going to fail. It's going to reverse higher. But on the general indexes, we have the momentum at our back. All three time frames were saying, let's go. In this case, we're getting mixed signals, again, the monthly Qs, the monthly MACD just crossed over, which we haven't seen that happen since I guess it did happen in
2020 for a split second.
Yeah.
Right. Throw up your chart there, Nick. What you're talking about.
We don't have, that's only saying you're right. I don't think they're all bear flags. I just think that we're still getting mixed signals based on the time frames. And for me to I entered a bunch of the miners. I got chopped out of the miners, and then I re-entered a lot of them on Friday. But other than that, I want the indexes to be lined up. I want my moving averages stacked. I want to see some bases, just at this point, just because I'm starting over pretty much.
The miners, as in the gold miners.
The gold miners, yeah.
I knew what you were referring to. I just wanted to hear you say it.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, and like, yeah, I don't know. I'll let one of you guys take it over. That's just kind of where I'm kind of at with it.
And I
Did you
pass
want
the
to talk about some of
baton.
them?
Nick, totally agree. I think I posted that on Friday. I'm like, what do I do with that information? Right? That was
Yeah.
it was a rhetorical question. And the reality is that all the time frames don't line up, right? So when you don't have all the time frames lining up, it's chop city central, right? And one day everyone's a bull, the next day everyone's a bear. I think Bags, I talked about, I'm like, watch us gap and crap, and everyone turns into a bear. And look at that, 2
Yep.
days we got, and everyone's like, it's time for the end of the world, right? So, and I'm not saying that it's not going to happen, but you need to see levels break, right? As of now, January 24th hasn't broken the lows. And until that level breaks, it's hard for me to be a fundamental bear. Yes, you can catch some shorts and make some tons of money. Don't get me wrong on these crazy Friday moves that they seem to keep doing. And if you were watching flow on Wednesday, it was starting to pick up. And if you were watching flow on Friday, like mid-afternoon, early morning, you saw people betting the farm on puts, on zero delta puts. So you knew the gamma squeeze was coming to the downside and it was going to end badly. And it's exactly what happened, right? So there's a lot of short-term traders coming in with
Yep.
a lot of size, don't get me wrong, with a ton of size, pushing the indices around when there's a lack of liquidity. And that's ultimately what I think is happening here. So today I might be a bull, tomorrow you might be a bear, but ultimately I think it's just people taking full advantage of short-term price movements, and it's a zero-sum game. We all know this, right? Your money you lose is going into some guy's pocket on Wall Street or in San Francisco or in Chicago or Indonesia, wherever, it doesn't matter. But when you're giving up the money, someone else is getting it.
That's right.
Like really the only people that should be even throwing cash around right now are like long-term investors, you know, that are buying versus like very significant levels that have been like, you know what I'm saying? Like if you're on any shorter time frame than that, you're kind of just, I don't know. I'm with you. Like I'm not a full-time bear either. Like just looking at the cues, you know, we could very well roll over and double bottom. I'd love to see, like, we could put in a lower high, or I'm sorry, a higher low. You know, like there's a lot of things that could happen other than just us kind of rolling over for, you know, another leg lower. But it'd be sweet to see like kind of the 50-day moving average continue down and start to flatline, and let those shorter term moving averages like the 10 and 20 days start to flatline, curl back through the 50-day. I don't know, just for a little bit of like, I don't know, a little bit of confidence, saying if we start to break out of this range, we've got some support underneath us.
I'm just going to go with what I'm sharing right now. You know, I think this was right around the same time GP, you and I were going back and forth on the gap down, a near 70% down day. This was Thursday. You know, that's a 70% down day. While it is, you know, a lot, don't get me wrong, but it's not a washout level, right? Like you want to see an 80 or 90% down day before it's a washout. And Thursday kind of set the tone that we could go down some more on Friday. And sure enough, that's what happened. Anyway.
Yeah, I think, Nick, what you were saying is long-term investors should be putting money to work, right? And I think what we're fundamentally running into is the amount of headline risk that's out there that leaves and we've been preparing for the end of the world in the stock market and a massive correction since I started this in 2010 flash crash, 2008 or 9, and the 2010 flash crash was like, oh my god, the end of the world, the systems are broken, game over.
Mhm.
sorry, that was just the start of all this bullishness. So you missed like 10,000% to the upside if you thought the flash crash was over. 2013, 2015, 2016, 2000. I can literally go year by year where there's a massive move down, and long-term investors seem to be inundated with the amount of headline risk, right? And I think once you understand that it's a zero-sum game and the markets are, I don't want to use the word manipulated, but geared towards people who want to make money and have the means to make money.
Yeah.
Like when you have a Friday like yesterday, and what did we have yesterday? Sorry, Thursday, Bullard came out and said, you know what, at any point in time, at any point in your life, we're just going to raise rates and you can't do shit about it. And that's the end of the world, right? So
Yep.
everyone panics, it sells off. Of course it's going to sell off. That you already have an uncertain environment, and he just added a level of uncertainty that's unpredictable. So you have this, oh crap, here's the end of the world, right? And you see it by the end of the day. This is all during trading hours. And then after hour comes out and it's like, we're not even sure if we're going to hike in March, right? Like the other Fed speakers come out.
Yep.
So you had one of the hawkish, is that even a word? I don't even know if that's a word.
More hawkish.
More hawkish Fed presidents come out and say, I have a bunch of puts and I'm going to just tell you that we can, like if you're trying to think of conspiracy theories, I'm not, right? Ultimately that adds, so you had that on Thursday, and then Friday, the war with Ukraine. There was like 30 other headlines that came out on Friday.
Pfizer's drug for a vaccine for under 5 years old got postponed or redone or whatever.
Yeah, there's like the amount of, so why would someone, this is what you have to always remember, why would someone at 3 p.m. or 2:30 p.m. come out? Why 2:30 p.m.? Why not 9 a.m.? Like, okay, maybe that's just when the news came out, but if you look at timeframes, you'll see a lot of times that it's like 3 a.m. in Ukraine.
Yep.
Like what? Like, or like 10 o'clock at night in Ukraine, and all of a sudden this news comes out and that aligns with our 2:30 in the markets perfectly. So you gotta just decipher through some of this stuff, and I've seen enough of it over the years that stuff that comes out on Friday at 2 p.m. You've seen rumors that come out saying there's a buyout happening because people want to get out of their calls or it's consistently there every Friday or almost every Friday when these things happen. So you just have to keep that in mind. And as long-term investors, it's hard to ignore that rhetoric because every news channel out there is telling you otherwise.
Well, and as bad as Friday was from, percent drop scenario, the internals, the advancers and declining was also a 70% down day. It wasn't, that big washout day like I was talking about. And, I hosted a live yesterday and Ethan Smith got on there with me and we got to chatting about the macro environment and really at the end of the day, and we talked to, the three of us talked about this on one of our earlier episodes, was in my opinion, I wanted the Fed to do something quickly, right? That gave the market a direction, that gave market an idea, and if they came out and said, hey, we're going to do a 0.5%, 0.5, that's what we're looking at, but we're not going to make that decision until March. That gives the market some idea of what's going on. But then you've got Bullard out there just basically like you said, GP, seems like he's holding puts in the market and let's see how far I can make this fucker drop. At some point I have to question why you go out and say that. You're not the chair. This is not an official statement. And where's the responsibility from these Fed governors to, I'm not saying that they have to be muzzled or walk the party line, but he knew good and well when he said that what was going to happen in the market. I mean, you'd have to be a fool not to, right? And
and right at resistance in the market.
I just feel like it's an irresponsible thing for them to go out and say whatever they want to say, but also, I mean, up until recently with the new guidance that the Fed's trying to put in, still owning positions and shit. I just find it absurd. Again, I'm not saying that there's any malfeasance on his behalf, but
I'm saying it.
but I do think, you know, having those types of commentary when nothing has been said and we're a month away from making any type of decision, it's just, you know, it doesn't do anyone any good unless you are betting to the downside.
Agreed. And so the other parts of those conversations is also on Thursday, if you're watching social commentary and news, everyone knew the CPI was going to come in high.
Yeah.
And we still have this move down, right? Like we open, we gap down, and you're like, okay, so markets make irrational moves all the time. So I'm not saying that that's not going to happen, but everyone knew that the CPI number was going to be high. So for us to have that kind of a gap down, to me, it doesn't necessarily make sense. Price is price ultimately. I'm not going to argue it, right? But you saw it as soon as it gapped down. What happened? It bounced hard. 200-300 points in the first 30 minutes or something like that on the NQs. Like there, yeah. There's just a lot for me that I've seen over the years that's hard to ignore the blatant crap that goes on, right? Like, and then like cue the clockwork, all of a sudden making the rounds is a monthly, every 2-week meeting that the Fed does normally and uses the same language, hasn't changed, it's on their website, is now getting circulated by all the bears,
right,
to say there's an emergency rate hike coming. Right, so they telegraph that too. They're telegraphing everything for you. And you're a genius, you found it, no one else has found it, no one else has seen it. So like, to me, a lot of it's the praying. It's a zero-sum game, man. That's what I always see it as, is like, so like people will do a lot of crazy things that they can get away with, and they know they can get away with it without any kind of repercussions. So.
We've deviated from our normal technical analysis and kind of gone into fundamentals and conspiracy. So let's bring it back to how we see some of these charts lining up, and you know what we might see as far as Nick, you were saying that you were in the miners and you actually liked, you know, the way gold was looking. I think you know, do you have a chart of that? Do you want to share, or GP, do you want to?
Let me share my screen here.
There
so
it
you
is.
can see all that.
It's a bear flag. It's not a bear flag.
Let's even go out to the monthly first. I mean, God, like everybody's the thing is like, dude, everybody's looking at this right now, and like
even Duzio's looking at it.
Dude, that's insane, because anytime I've ever said something to him about gold or the miners, he's just like, waste fucking time. I made money in 2019. I bought this. I gave a lot back on this bar, and so I didn't really catch much of this. But the monthly just looks so good. What moving averages do I have on here? I usually follow the 12 and 18 month moving averages. Oh boy, that's a big thing. Okay.
You kind of got like an 8-month tight there too.
Yeah, man. I mean, it kind of looks like this big old cup and handle, no matter how you draw it, whether you're drawing your fibs from this breakout to the high, you know, it basically held 50% of this breakout move. If you want to run it from like when the trend started, it's basically at the 0.382. You even extend down to the lows and you're like, dude, this thing ripped and it has held pretty much the top 20% of this full run. I mean, that seems to be strong to me. Like, I don't know.
Yeah, I pulled up
All
the
the
gold chart
miners
earlier
had
and it
like
looks
some
good. Like
big
it's wedging in. It looks promising to me, but you know, I think it
FNV.
would be good for trade. I don't, you know, I personally don't want to be in gold for a
No,
long
I don't.
time, but as long as it can be a good time, that's all that matters.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're going to be in one of the miners, FNV is probably the one to be in. You got this nice, you know, big range, wedge down, and again, just breaking out. I don't know.
Nick, if you
like we
pull up
kinda discussed,
XME,
there's nothing really. Say what?
pull up the XME, and when you have, this is the materials ETF, I think. No, not what you pulled up. XME is just the, it's the
Sushi
metals,
swap.
sorry.
The what? Here, I'll turn it over to you.
Yeah, okay. Hold up. I wasn't ready for that.
Oh shit, sorry. I can flip it back on.
Yeah. It doesn't matter. All I'm saying is the metals ETF XME is breaking out of like a 10-year base as well, right? Like along with gold. So
sorry, I found it.
Yeah, I guess that's what I was trying to point out, is that what we talked about before is
Dude, that looks amazing.
yeah,
it looks really
go further back, and
Wow.
you'll see it. Literally keep going. It's almost a decade.
Oh yeah.
Right? Like, so it's breaking out of this on a weekly time frame. It broke out already. On a monthly, it's got to confirm, right? That's what we need to see. With the close on Friday, it was a breakout on the weekly. But so this, along with your goals, suggests that metals are going to continue moving higher, right? We were talking about this earlier, which is confluence of multiple things. So when you have the index that represents all metals, with gold being the metal, it kind of suggests that we are on the verge of breaking out of this long-term consolidation. Like, I've been talking about gold since last year. It's on its way to 3,000 an ounce, right? I think that's where it's going, because that's the measured move from here. It has been consolidating forever though, so I don't know when it's going to happen, but when it will, it'll be powerful, that's for sure. But like, I think the other part of that conversation is what we first started talking about is, if you wanted to, you could even draw a bear flag in this conversation, right?
I was waiting for it.
Right. So look at the last 5 or 6 weeks
on XME or on GLD?
On gold.
Oh, sure.
And you can draw a bear flag.
Oh, shit.
Right. So I can share my screen if you want. I have already drawn it.
On the sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wait, which screen are you seeing? Are you seeing this one?
I see.
I just
A
drew a square
screenshot from Thinkorswim. Yes, that's what I see.
Okay.
I see you drew a rectangle.
Yeah. Okay. So here is, you could draw this as, look, it rejected prior highs here, came down, tried to make a new high here, right? Got rejected, and now it's bear flagging again. And technically, it's made another new lower high. Sorry, not higher high, but lower high, right? So you can technically argue that it can continue back to around this level, hit this bear flag, and come back down.
For sure.
We kind of saw it here, if you're looking at this in the past, right? That it could just be more consolidated. I don't know, but I think the question a lot of people ask is bear flags and stuff like that. Is like, you can draw a bear flag in almost any time frame. You can look at this and be like, that's.
You could even see a head and shoulders too. If you draw
Yeah.
that trend line from kind of like, 20 up,
Yeah.
you're basically where your bear flag is. It's almost like your right shoulder.
Yeah, but I think that's what I was trying to point out is like, okay, this could be a bear flag, but what is it? What is it telling you? Is that if you're starting to look at the index itself, the XME, the metals,
Yeah.
that's actually breaking out. So the chances of this being a bear flag is very unlikely, in my opinion. It's also breaking out of a downtrend here over the last 2 years and all that other stuff. So like, it's just taking technical analysis, chart patterns on its own merit is sometimes not the right call. So you have to see how the other things are lining up, right? Like if you're looking at XME and XME is breaking down and not breaking out, the chances of this being a bear flag are probably pretty high. So it's just something like it's just more food, fire for the fuel, stuff to think about when you're looking at this stuff. I show patterns so people can see them, but a lot of time my thought process is not patterns, it's price, right? And now I was showing bags earlier. Like I do this on the weekends quite often, is I start to, this is for myself, I think it's good for everyone to do, to kind of understand price action. On Friday, by the end of the day, I felt like we were going to completely collapse, right? And then so I take the rest of the day, I don't really look at charts on Friday, and I don't normally look at charts on Saturday either. I just wait, I wait for like a day to refresh and then look at them on Sunday with fresh eyes. But since we were doing it today, this call, I looked at them today. So I started doing the 30-minute time frames, and I'll show you. Like this is the Nasdaq Composite, right? So this is the Nasdaq Composite view that I have here. It's slightly different than the Qs, but I just do this for my own kind of thought processes. Like if you're looking at this chart, we had the Friday OPEX close here. We had the gap down. This is the gap down open. We had the liquidity driven move down, margin calls, whatever you want to call it. And as soon as it kind of ended, you had this massive move up, right? We closed that day green. Everyone's like, hooray. But markets, when they're this broken, take some time for price discovery, right? So we had a kind of a choppy week here. And then we finally on the 31st had a follow through day. We clear this pivot high here, go and bounce up to here. Not enough strength because technically we're still so damaged that we break down. But we break down and we don't come back and check the follow through day. We find kind of support in this top of the base, and then we try for a second push. And the second push makes a nominal new high, but not enough because we're just so technically broken that it's going to take some time for people to start trusting it. So when you can't break out, you break down. So that's exactly what happened. And then you'll see this kind of like this move here, which is right around that 1-2 p.m. mark on Fridays. That tends to happen quite often. You saw it here as well. There's a lot of short-term Momo puts that are being bought, and you just have this kind of liquidity driven move into OPEX. If you look at the calls, puts, not a single call expired in the money, right? So like they're just pushing things around when there is a lack of liquidity. But what do you see happens is we came back and we tested the follow through day open, we broke it, and then we tried to push higher. And then we tried to re-break it into the close, but we still couldn't push higher. So we're finding support in this area, right? So I'm not saying we're not going to gap down and just clear this area on Monday, but right now the price doesn't represent that. We had a test, and you can do this across all the indices, but the Nasdaq Composite is the one we're looking at here, that we had a test and we didn't break it. So yes, it's bearish short term. Is it bearish long term? Not really. We're still making higher lows, right? On each one of these.
So
So
far,
it's just something to keep in mind.
bear flag until it isn't.
Yeah, so I'll stop sharing, but it literally, you can do it. I've done it for all of them. So you'll see this is the SPX. Then you have the Dow Jones, right? Same kind of thought pattern. But this is something, these are my thoughts. So I don't want to harp on them too long. You gotta do your own. And I think this is important for a lot of people to do, to figure out what the price, forget the patterns, but figure out what the price action is doing, like key pivots and stuff like that. So stuff to keep in mind.
That's great stuff, GP. Always appreciate you guys sharing what you have. For me this week, I'm stuck in the cryptoverse still. I'm still of the opinion that Bitcoin and crypto is leading us up and leading us down and leading us all around right now.
It didn't break.
I have a
It did not break, and that's I'm gonna pull up my Polkadot chart.
imagine to GP's kind of theory on like the monster rally of rallies that's coming. I think I'm in kind of your camp in terms of like we're setting up, or we're in the midst of like a giant fucking shakeout. And whatever they end up doing in the crypto, the amount of people that are, I think the people that are gonna be focused, I don't know. I think I think the next mother of rallies that we see is gonna be the most hated of rallies that we've ever.
Man, I'm surprised every day about how hated the market is and how hated.
I think this is amazing. I think this is so great.
It's been the most hated bull market ever.
Oh, yeah.
Like people just hate that the market continues to grind up, whether it's crypto, whether it's SPY Qs, whatever, just in general.
How old are you guys?
I'm 43.
You're 43. GB, how old are you? 40. Okay. I'm almost 38. Dude, there's a generation of people that like, we grew up, we didn't really remember 99. Like, I was in high school. Like I remember my dad like canceling cable and shit, like just little stuff, like trying to, save more money because he gave back a lot of money. But the credit crisis, 2008, there's a lot of people that are not, I think there's a lot of people that are still not involved in the markets.
No, I was, referencing my conversation with Ethan yesterday. My dad was, actually going to retire in like 2007, 2008 timeframe.
Sure.
And he basically had to work until 2014. I mean,
Yeah.
he ended up making, extending his, gains out. But yeah, I mean, I really feel bad for the people who are trying to retire right now, and the fear that they have of just the market in general. Like, what do I do? Do I take my money out now of the market because I'm retiring? Well, then inflation eats it up, right? And how do I do it? And I understand it's a scary time. I don't think we're anywhere near what was happening in 06, 07, and 08, right? Like the world was, we were literally ready to go to zero.
Yeah, right.
There were countries ready to completely default.
God, that time was so nuts, man.
So yeah, no, I just think it's hated so bad, and anyway, it's a whole different fundamental discussion that we can tackle. But I just don't understand why, we looked at, Max and I last week looked at like MGNI, and if you bought MGNI anywhere, Magnite back in, I'll pull up the freaking chart, anywhere back in 2020, like it was easy money, right? Like it did nothing but go straight up to $60, and now it's been straight down for a year now. And I bring that up because for the last 2 years, there have been so many opportunities for so many people to get exponentially more wealthy. And I don't understand why the bear thesis, or everybody thinks the world's coming to an end, is so strong. And maybe it's because we ramped like we did, right? And it was so easy, and now it's the chicken's got to come to roost, or what have you. But I even you guys remember after the pandemic, like nobody after the pandemic, we're still in it. Nobody wanted to believe that the market could come up from here, right? Like it just
Hey.
well,
Not
sorry,
nobody.
I shouldn't generalize. So many people, not naming Gotham, didn't think that it would do that, right? And I was late to the party, but still, I got in about right here, right? Like, look at the fucking gains are stupid. And then every pullback, the world's coming to an end. 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 The world is coming to an end. And I just, it's overdone. And quite frankly, this has been one hell of a buying opportunity. Like you were saying, Nick, to start our conversation, to the long-term investor. And I trade around, but I haven't traded in a couple weeks now, just because, like, why? Like I want to just buy things. And speaking of wanting to buy things, I want to buy some more freaking Polkadot, and that's my chart of the day. So full circle, and we can look at Bitcoin too, but we didn't break down. That doesn't mean we can't, but Bitcoin didn't break down. And we had to punch through that sort of 41.5 area for me to maybe think that it could happen. But then that 4,500 area still there, and that doesn't mean over the next couple of sessions that it can't. But right now it's looking like it really wants to hold. So I was watching Polkadot last night, and I put all these I call these little alerts my tripwires. Because below $18.10, basically, I'm probably going to be buying something. And these are all my levels down. Not necessarily that I think they'll hit, but what I wanted to point out on the chart was I was kind of looking at, how do I make sense of, I mean, it's in a downtrend, obviously. It's hitting this downtrend line resistance. It's riding down with the 50 EMA. But how do I make sense of where might I look to buy, or where might I look to sort of start scaling in? And the daily kind of gave me a clue of what did this precipitous fall off look like. So I kind of took it back a little further, not quite the 4 hour, but then when I looked at the 1 hour, I was like, hey, I see something that kind of looks vaguely similar. And I look at when we fell off in January from here to here, and then here to here. Looks awfully familiar to me, like here to here and here to here. And I was playing around with this last night, and roughly this, on a percentage basis, these are two completely different moves, right? But the structure's similar. So it's 43% from the top. And this is like 21% from the top. And I got to thinking, like, that's almost half of that move. So are we at a bottom? Could we be at a bottom here? And I came to the conclusion we very well could be. I put this blue line in basically to serve as somewhat of, what a support line might look like. And I wanted to try to get in around this $18.09, $18.10 as close as I could. So I'm really waiting on that to trigger, because if I look back at the 1 hour, we did have this undercut right here, right? It did make a new low before it ran back up. I'm kind of waiting to see if maybe we get one of those situations, specifically in Polkadot. The RSI and Stoke tend to make me believe that we we may not make new lows, but we may come into some of these wicks here. These wick lows, not the main lows, but around where these bodies are. So I'm kind of eyeing this 18.9, 18.10 level, 17.6 level, and that's where I'm probably going to put some more to work to see if it holds. Now, if it doesn't, I'm not going all in on my crypto space. But again, I think I was on with you guys when I explained that I like Polkadot for the 12% rewards I can get. And, a lot of the crypto funds are really piling into Polkadot too. So I feel sort of safe. I'm not adding, any more for my own personal Bitcoin and Ethereum. So Polkadot's where I'm making my foothold in new tokens. But anyway, that's my chart. That's my representation of it. I'm curious to hear if you guys think that that could be a potential similar move. And hopefully you guys can see how that sort of shaped out there, right? Like it's almost
kind of bearish on in the crypto space.
That's fine, Nick, and you're
I know.
entitled to your opinion.
I know. I mean, right now I look at it like we're in a range, and until those range lows get taken out, I wouldn't say I'm super bearish, but I'm not. I'm definitely not bullish at the moment.
Well, if you'll remember my take on Bitcoin as a whole, we're not bullish until we cross back above that 21 weekly EMA, and we got close 45.8, and it's up at 46.8, 46.6. So there's still some room to go
for me to get bullish on like crypto. I want to see Bitcoin rip above 50K and hold above 50K. Is kind of what is my thought process. That 50K is basically your 50% retracement from high to low, our most recent high to low. And I would view that as a significant trend change. I mean, yeah, sure, you can start to get like, if you wanted to be aggressive and just draw that trend line down, like on Bitcoin, yeah, I guess you'd probably be buying Bitcoin right here if you were trying to be aggressive. But anyways, sorry, I interrupted.
No, I asked for your input. So I'm going to mark 50K and call it the Nick fuck you pay me line.
Yeah, damn right there.
So that will live forever on this chart. So thanks, Nick. I love it.
Well, that would change. Like if, let's say Bitcoin rolls over and we take out, those lows right there, the fib lines are going to extend out. So the 50% retracement is going to continually drop as we make new lows, if that, you know what I'm saying?
I hear you.
Okay.
Yeah, no,
I'm
not full raging bull until we get back above 46,680. That weekly 21 has proven over and over and over again,
dude,
it has to be broken above.
Sure.
We're also not making new lows. If you're looking at all of these on weekly time frames, we're testing prior bases, right? So if you extend out the weekly time frame here on Bitcoin, or even Polkadot, or whatever you want to do, a lot of these, I'm not saying every token, but you see how it's first of all, it's more, it came back to the base where was it? Like we're base for about like, I think 8 or 9 weeks, tested it and pushed up. So you're technically making higher highs, right? Because Bitcoin did make a higher high and higher lows. So to me, this is still within a fairly bullish scenario. And until we start making new lows, even if
like 30K, you're talking like 30K getting taken out, right?
Yep.
Yeah, like it's hard.
That's exact. I'm in the same boat. Or same
28. I think 28 is what I have. 28.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry, I round up.
Yeah.
But yeah, no. I don't mean that. I mean, it's every chart is different with all this stuff because every All of them show different prices, but around that, is it the December 2020 highs is what I would probably say,
Yeah, definitely.
right? That's where you have the next candle over bags. Yeah, that one. So that's kind of like the area where you need for Bitcoin to hold, and if it continues to hold, it's a long-term bull thesis, right? And until that comes down and breaks, it's hard to be super bearish here. Is it in the middle of the pack zone while people are trying to figure it out? Absolutely. Like, it's not time to be fully bullish, but
So
it's
let me ask
not
you.
in a bear.
Let me ask you a question. I guess I don't know if you own any crypto. Bags, you obviously do. Are you holding? Let's just hypothetically say 2830 gets taken out. Are you still long Bitcoin? Like, because I'm like in the back of my mind,
I'm
I'm
long
secretly.
Bitcoin from the 4 digits. So yes, I'm still holding.
Would you hold it down to like 10? Like, let's say it rolled over hard and we got a retest of like that 10,000 level. Would you
I
still
think bags
think
would be
it's
adding.
That's
Yeah,
what okay. That's what I was.
I would be adding if we fell down there. I think GP
Okay.
sort of nailed it, and you did too, Nick. With once we get into this zone of 30 to 26 area, I'm not supremely confident that if that happens, it were to hold.
Sure.
So I would seriously be considering, depending on what the price action looks like for it to get down there, what I want to do with my existing Bitcoins. It would be really hard to sell them
Yeah.
there. But at the same time, if I sold them here, I'm selling it with the thought process of we're at least testing 20, right?
Yeah.
So I'm able to sell out around 30 and get back in closer to 20 potentially. So that would be a hard decision for me to
I'm definitely
make,
a buyer
but
at
I could
both
definitely make it.
10 and 20.
I don't think 10's happening. Just
I mean, hey man, anything's
anything can happen.
possible.
Any
Let me
fucking thing can
dream,
happen.
dude. Come on.
Anything can happen. Anything can happen. I
There's too
just
many. There's just too. So who? All the institutional holders of Bitcoin. Who is it? Tesla, Square, Monster. Not Monster. Is it Monster? No. MSTR, whatever the stupid.
Oh
I think you have a lot of people who are if it goes
MicroStrategy.
down, MicroStrategy. That's it. If there's a lot of people who are fundamentally bullish that even if it gets to a level of, you'd have to have like some massive whale liquidating for that to happen. Personally.
yeah. Tesla dumping it.
Yeah, but I know, hasn't Elon come out and said no chance in hell he's dumping it?
Oh, I don't know.
Well,
I was just throwing that out there.
it would be.
I don't trust Elon
It would,
anyway, so
it would need to be
matter.
more than Tesla just saying, in Elon saying, "Hey, I'm dumping it." Now, if Elon came out and went on a Twitter tirade, that's going to have an effect on the price. We've seen that happen before.
Yes.
So again, everything's in the realm of possibilities, right? We're all living, breathing. Anything can happen. We could cease to be breathing tomorrow, right? Like anything can happen. There's no idea original. There's nothing new under the sun. Anything that can be done has already been done. But what I'm getting at is, if we were to test 30, it has, 30 to 28.5 has been an area of support that we, witnessed early last summer. So it would definitely have to come through 26K, which is basically the candle body top there that I think that was the candle you were referring to, GP.
Yep.
It would need to break that for me to be like, okay, this is way more bearish than I anticipated. And like, right, I mean, this shit happened, right? Like, this was a flash crash that happened, over the course of 2 weeks, and this was more dramatic than almost anything that I can recall with the speed in which it did it, even in comparison to the market, right? Like we went straight down 63% in the matter of 4 weeks. And that's, you know, I will always regret not just going all in at $4,000. But anyway, it's hard. It's hard to,
We might get another opportunity. Just, you know,
it's hard to put the money to work when that's happening, right? Especially when it was out of nowhere, because this was setting up constructively. And that's the point that I'm trying to make, was this right here was out of nowhere. You know, we crossed over, you know, we were building back up, right? And then it just dumped.
I think that's where, like, when you layer this stuff with social media and probably the news, it's going to paint a different picture in your head. Like if you can start thinking like, okay, who missed the move? Was it the smart money or the dumb money? Like if the smart money missed the move, you can bet that they're probably going to be buying at those puke levels.
Well, I think we should label it. Are we talking about institutional money versus,
Sure.
You know, layman investor and
Yeah.
Speculator money, right?
This lined up with COVID. No, this was like,
yeah, that was COVID.
sell every asset on the planet. It
Yep.
wasn't a conversation
Yep.
of
Yeah.
like the world might be ending.
The
global
point.
Oh yeah, that's
population.
okay. I didn't.
The
I wasn't even looking at the dates.
point that I was making though was the cycle that it was going through here. You X this out, you don't even count that. And it basically kept on the same cycle, right? Like if you just completely disregard, you know, what happened there as a black swan event, like you would have probably seen this sort of same pattern play out, except for that huge volatile to the downside. Anyway, the point that I'm making about institutional money, I don't think heavy institutional money was getting in until we broke above these former highs, $20,000.
Yeah.
So they've been chasing since we broke out from $8,000 basically.
Mm-hmm.
So
well,
sure,
that's not actually true. Didn't we hear something towards the end of 2020 about everybody that was buying, all the big funds that were buying Bitcoin all year instead of gold?
Look where we're at in the end of 2020 though. This is the end of 2020. $20,000 is the end of 2020.
Oh, sure. Okay.
So you missed the entire
Isn't
move.
Tesla's average price like 33,000?
You missed the entire move from $8,000 to $20,000. That's the entire point that I'm trying to make, Nick, is
yeah.
They missed half the move. Now, did it run to 60? Yeah, absolutely. And you know, a 30 or a 20 something average up to 30 is good, right? Like who wouldn't want that? But at the same time, they weren't big institutions weren't in as heavy down here as they started layering in up here.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, I don't want to get off on too much of a side tangent.
Yeah.
But anyway, I just think that, to your point, GP, I would not call this bearish, right? I would say it's trying to set back up for its next move. And what is its next move? Is it going to be higher? I'm kind of leaning that way, but it still could come in and test $30,000.
I think if you get to 30,000, I think you're going to be in a world of pain personally, but that's
I do too.
So like, I don't think any of this stuff holds if it starts to break those levels. That's just personally what I think is, but if you're looking at Bitcoin, I'm a volume guy and I will always be a volume guy because I think that's just the way I was taught. Maybe I need to relearn all my stuff and I don't know anything, but you in general, price action needs to see distribution. I'm not saying price can't go down by 70%. If there's no buyers and only sellers, price will continue to go down, right? So I'm not saying that price won't go down, but to me, when you don't see volume confirmation, on these moves. You can look at Bitcoin, you can look at all these things. It's not a lot of volume on these moves down, right? If you don't see volume coming in, how are they distributing? How are institutional funds distributing out? They're slowly doing it, potentially, but I always look for volume, right? Like that's my thing. And I know most people are like, no, price is the only thing that matters. And I'm not disagreeing with you, but if you're a long-term investor, the way I would look at it is if there's not volume confirmation on big price movements down, my thought process is it's probably going to be a buying opportunity for the longer term.
So I think actually this was the Elon tweet right here, or I think it was maybe this first red candle. So if we look at, what happened last summer in comparison to the COVID drop, I mean, that volume is almost identical. That's kind of crazy to think about, that one person's Twitter fingers help expedite that, probably more so than what should have happened as a normal sell-off would happen. Anyway,
it's so technical, the whole crypto world. It has its blips, but it's fairly abides by technical, so it's great to see, actually.
Yeah, it's fun to study, fun to look at, and bringing it full circle back to this guy, right? Like I really like the symmetry of what we had in these two moves down. I can see a similar form, and if we don't make a lower low, coming back to what we were talking about in the markets, right? As long as we're not down here testing this area, I like the potential of this dip buy.
So yeah, it looks good to me.
There you go. That's my 2 cents, and Nick can go buy some more gold for all I care.
No, you kind of got like an ascending triangle look on the monthly of that thing. Like you're pretty much sitting on a lower trend line. Go to the monthly.
Well, Dodd doesn't really have a very good monthly.
Oh,
it's pretty new.
Yeah, but I mean, still, I wouldn't connect. I've got a different looking bar than you do on my chart. But I connected the low of January 21, the low of July 21. That's kind of where I was connecting my dots.
Hey guys, we did it again. We made it through another.
All right, man.
Another Three Amigos TA report session. Thanks, guys. I know I say this at the end of every one of these, but I do appreciate you guys. I appreciate you both.
Yeah,
for all you do, for all you share, for your bearishness, for your bullishness. Love you guys.
Dude, if you just want to set it for Sundays at 4, like I'm in.
Yeah, I just wanted to move it. This week
because the Super Bowl.
Because Super Bowl, yeah. So
sports ball is not in my wheelhouse.
Sports ball, takes precedent in the Bags household this coming Sunday.
I feel you.
Yeah, same here. So I'm glad we moved it, but I should be good for Sundays moving forward.
Yeah, cool. Me too.
But we didn't follow through on yelling, Bags. What happened to yelling?
I mean, I thought I got off to a pretty good start on yelling.
All right.
I dropped some curse words more than usual, or I don't know. I'll have to go back and count them, but I'll make sure to turn on "This is not appropriate for children" on YouTube. So
that's yeah, that makes sense.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate
you.
We'll catch you guys.
Next Sunday.
Go Stafford.